Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper, where today we're going to plant the final seeds to entice the gardener across the rift, but it feels like there's gotta be a lot of effort left to put in, right? How exactly do we plan to bridge the founder's gap? This is a pretty serious, I guess in theory all we'd have to do is run a single cable across, probably, but even so, logistically, this seems like a serious problem. All right, let's go ahead and throw these in. Even if this comes up neutral, we're still good. Okay. You always got to be ready for it. You get lucky with a common access string, jumping your progress ahead significantly. Turns out they just left it as admin. And here we go. It's not 100% clear to me what exactly I'm doing with the seeds. Am I just sort of setting them near the computer so that the gardener knows? Or do they go inside? Just place them gently on the circuit board? As you leave, the slate peak gave you chirps insistently. You check and see a message. Found a possible entry to the core facility in the low end. Meet me here ASAP. Peak. A blinking marker gives their position as on the free spoke side of the main block. Better head to the low end. It would be really sick if whatever Peak needs from us, ones are useful. You arrive at the coordinates given by Peak's slate, a rundown but active corner of the low end, where a short glass-roofed alley turns off from one of the main thoroughfares. You wait in the mouth of the alley, leaning against the wall and watching the street life go by. Children hop across grids scratched into metal floor plates, playing games of their own devising, while older residents sit and talk or play tavla. It's hard to believe this is all at threat. It seems so concrete, so real. How can some intangible protocol erase all this? As you're watching, a voice calls out to you from one of the tavla tables set up along the way. You move a little closer and recognize the sitting player immediately. Caster sits, tavla pieces and board ready in front of him, smiling at you. Sleeper, my partner has not arrived for our usual game. Come, please, take her place. He beckons you over, standing and nudging you to sit down with him. A rematch is in order. You owe me a game. Almost immediately, Caster begins the game. Everyone on the eye knows how to play tavla. The methodical movement of the counters across their triangular points, a ready fit for the rhythm of life on the ramshackle space station. Most games begin in the same way, with each player moving with independence, focused only on achieving their optimal early game setup. But there is a moment in each game where it becomes necessary to notice the other player, to anticipate the crossing of the counters across the board. A point of contact, when routine becomes negotiation, and negotiation becomes conflict. As this moment arrives, this subtle shift in the texture of the interaction, Caster begins to speak. I find myself surprised by you continually, Sleeper. He looks over his glasses at you. The way you conduct yourself, for example, suggests an anxious refrain, a defensive, protective quality. But in your tavla game, he pauses to move a counter. I see only risk. Have you been watching me? Caster sighs. Let's not be paranoid. You are aware of my interest in you, are you not? Risk is of course necessary to play tavla. To move a piece is to expose it, but it should be done with calculation, with proper analysis. Then, if the piece is taken, Caster moves a counter, taking one of yours with a practice swap, placing it beside the board. It is already accounted for. But you move forward with abandon, as if risk was just a secondary effect of action, a consequence, not its primary guide. He gestures for you to take your turn. A cause. I wonder, the answer almost has to be no, right? But I wonder if this text is actually different based on, like, your decision making in some way, or maybe like how often you use 3s and 4s in risky and dangerous positions. Like, I wonder if anything about your gameplay is being referred to here, and if there's a couple of different speeches he can give you, or if he just always says this no matter how you behave. Because, like, if it's the latter, that kind of takes the juice out of it, right? I'm not going to respond. He's trying to distract me. I know Caster's game. I'm going to stay focused on the board. Caster nods. See what I mean? Risky in play, but defensive in mood. He smiles. You move your piece. This locks you into being reactive, if you don't mind my saying so. You're responding, which means you're being led. He leans back to consider the board. This place, it mirrors you, Sleeper. It is also reactive. It was born from a crisis, the collapse of Solheim, and ever since it has been reacting without any central guiding principle. No analysis, no calculation. Just look at our refugee crisis, for example. It's all reaction, all risk-taking, little risk calculation. At first, I found the chaos enlivening, especially when trying to track its outcomes. But now I find it exhausting. He laughs. It always amuses me that this place is literally spun from the rim. Below this very stack of habitation blocks is the most important control facility on the Eye. Spun from the rim. He laughs again. What better metaphor could you find for disorder? His face drops. But why am I telling you that? That facility is precisely why you are here. He smiles an unsettlingly warm smile. You feel a shiver through your body, as if something has changed in the air. How do you know about that? No words come out of your mouth. You feel removed from yourself, watching from behind frosted glass. Your eyes dart side to side. Inertia sets in. Castor is still smiling. Oh, this is not good. The risk you are planning to take here, Sleeper, is not yours to take. Castor's tone is unshifted. He speaks as if this is still some casual conversation between passing acquaintances. Okay, well, I didn't actually do that. You're leaping toward a chaotic outcome with no respect for risk. You see, calculating outcomes, that's my specialty. That's why I'm here. I was hired as a conduit for risk, as a collector of data that might pertain to its arrival. He removes his glasses to clean them, and you see something flicker across their surface, a shimmering stream of characters. Now this system, this station, is already theirs. Solheim's collapse meant a corporate fire sale. Assets changed hands. My employers, Senate Stat, bought out the entire system, and for the past decades have been its one valid owner. He polishes his glasses diligently. But to possess this system, the H1 system, he pauses, or Helion to you, well, that is a matter of risk, of how much force, how much cost, how much conflict a clearance would take. That risk must be calculated against the favorable outcome. In short, how much is this place worth to us? For a long time, the answer was nothing. H1 could offer nothing that would warrant the risk. But markets change, demands shift, and Senate Stat, we analyze, we follow, we respond. He puts his glasses back on his face. H1 is about to become the most important system in this part of the galaxy. He glances around. The lone CAN channel operating within range of 7 or so newly surveyed resource-rich systems. The frontier town that feeds the gold rush, so to speak. So here we are, re-evaluating the risk, reclaiming our property, starting up the CAN channel, and clearing the way for what comes next. He sits back, looking at the board. He gestures. Your move. Well, at least this, I was a little torn on how I felt about like the actual antagonist of the situation being faceless and so distant as to be unimaginable. There's a part of me that actually really likes that, especially as like the core, like the enemy here is effectively capitalism and capitalists, right? And that is how the real world works. It's how the capitalism of the real world works for the vast majority of people. You will never know who the executives are that are casually destroying your life for 0.2% extra profit. They're so far away, they may as well be dragons, right? Like, but it definitely helps with the sort of like the narrative stakes if you can put a face to the enemy. I'll say that. Arguing with him is not going to matter. They've done the math, right? I'm just going to take my move. He says your move, I'm taking my move. You go to lift a piece and something glints across Castor's glasses. You feel the slowness, the inertia begin to lessen. You move your piece, taking one of Castor's exposed counters. He nods. Of course, I do not need to explain myself to you, but in the role as an analyst in my calculations, I see great promise in you, in your ability to enter systems, to shift them to your will. Not every sleeper has this capacity. I assume you know that. He smiles. It truly is a wonderful happenstance of SNARP's technology. I imagine even they are not fully aware of it. He takes his move, claiming another of your pieces, and as you watch, you realize the inevitability of his victory. I'll make you an offer, to come willingly or come by force. The station will collapse, we can be sure of that, but your ability to work with data, well, for an analyst, that is very intriguing. He pauses to push his glasses up his nose. Very intriguing indeed. He glances around. Come with me as a collaborator or as a prisoner. Consider the risk. On one hand, almost certain death. On the other, a possible future. I mean, analyst or not, you must see it. Speak now, sleeper. The game is forfeit. You must see that. He holds out a hand. You are of value. You are needed. You feel a slight release in the inertia that grips you. Enough to allow you to speak, to respond. You realize that you are already in Castor's hands, that you could not move from this place if you wanted. That's a weird way to put this, because obviously I want. Sleeper? You hear the familiar voice above the crowds. Sleeper, I'm here. You're unable to turn your head to see Peak, but you notice Castor's eyes following them as they come up from behind you. Then you see Castor's eyes glance down towards his hands concealed beneath the table. Sleeper! Peak comes around in front of you and waves a hand in your face. We were supposed to be meeting, remember? They glance at Castor. Sorry, am I interrupting something? You cannot speak. Castor shoots Peak a wide smile. Hello, you must be a friend of Sleeper. You watch one of his hands lift, close to his body, some dark shape concealed in it. A weapon. You try to scream, to shout, but Castor's attention remains partially on you, and while it does, you can do nothing. Peak glances at your static form. What's happening here? Sleeper! They put a hand on your shoulder. Are you okay? As Peak stares into your eyes, you see Castor behind, his hand lifting, the dark object unfolding. And in the split moment it does, you feel his attention shifting to Peak, shifting away from you. As you do, you feel the inertia lifting, and you know this is the only moment you will have to act. And this sleeper acts, right? Act before talk. Shove. You lurch forward wildly like a sprung trap. Your head strikes Peak's chest and then carries them back into Castor. Somewhere, some digital screech is echoing through the walkway. They tumble together, and the object in Castor's hand skitters across the floor. You realize the screech is you. You get to your feet, grab Peak, and run. You run as hard as you can, the scream chasing you down the walkway as you shove through the residence, Peak dragged behind. You run from the cold grip of whatever power Castor had over you, the signals that locked you into this body of yours, that broke the connections and crawled up your spine. Eventually you stop, both you and Peak collapsing, heaving, breathing into the cold metal floor. When they're able to speak, Peak asks you to explain, and you tell them everything Castor told you. About Senate Stat, about their claim on the Helion system, their reactivation of the CAN channel, the Helion system's growing importance. It flows out of you in desperate gulps, unable to believe your own mouth as you hear these words coming back to you. All you feel is the need to push back against the cold hand on your shoulder, the vast cold eye that has turned to look at this system, the ghost limbs of corporate control that are extending their reach. Peak is quiet for a long time. Then they speak. We have to finish this, Sleeper. They meet your eye. We have to complete the seeding of the systems. We have to set Gardner free. It's too dangerous seems like a completely absurd thing to say in this moment, right? Like, it has just been made so much clearer to us why this is the only way forward. Yeah, you're right. If the choice is between Gardner and these people, I will choose Gardner every time. Their eyes are cold and steely. I would choose anything over them. You stand together. The final control facility is here. I found it. Peak looks at you grimly. I can take you as soon as you're ready. Time's almost up. This is the only shot you'll have. Okay, yeah, let's figure it out. So, highly dangerous, these ones. We get 2 dice on a success, -2 condition on a fail on this side, only -1 condition on a fail on this side. Ugh, yeah, so we're really looking for 5s and 6s here, and we certainly do not have any right now. What we can do right now with these ones, basically, is just go work the bar, I think. Make ourselves enough money for food or other stuff, I guess. Damn it. I did not remember there being a minus energy attached to the negative outcome, and also it definitely doesn't say there is one, so that feels a little shitty. That really shouldn't come as a surprise. Yeah, for this is just a +10 cryo without the minus energy. It's just a lie. Cool. Hit that 25% twice in a row. 3 times in a row. Rad. Alright. Are we still on the really tight timer? Yeah, the terminal flux is still coming, so like, honestly thinking of popping the other stabilizer. How many days? It was 12, it is now 9. So 5 and 4. The earlier we can get this done, the better. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fully maximize our dice here. We need to rock. We have a much better chance of being able to rock if we are rolling all of the dice. Okay. So, Intuit and Interface. We can gain small amounts of cryo on these actions. Intuit has no benefit at all, so I guess we want to throw our dice at the Interface action. It does feel more appropriate for our character, I guess, to do the Intuit action, right? Because it's like, that's the skill we've been growing into, so being able to flex that in this moment is cool, but also we need every little bit of resources we can get. There are powered terminals in the derelict part of the low end. Accessing them is dangerous, but will be faster than wandering. If only we could ask somebody where to go. We're so much better at that. Yay, it happened. If we had a 4 that we got to bump to a 5, I would be willing to test for the middle outcome. I don't know that I'm willing to throw a 3 that becomes a 4 at this. I think that's a little harsh. Is there anything else that we could be doing that is relevant to our current goals? There isn't, right? Yeah, because these actions are also high danger, so we can't even be throwing extra dice at prepping the ship just in case, because any die that could prep the ship needs to be used elsewhere. All right. Well then, what are we doing with these? We could potentially earn ourselves one more drive point by freeing Neovend, or one more upgrade point. But one upgrade point doesn't do anything. 2 upgrade points to get us instant karma would actually be worthwhile. But yeah, that's really it. And there's no way we can get 2 upgrade points rolling. We could go work for Yadigan. Yeah, like if we throw this 3 in here. Let me eat something first. I'm wondering if we got a drive point from that, and then we built the ship mind and freed Neovend. I wonder if we could put together 2 upgrade points and maybe get that reroll ability, because it would be really helpful, right? How much money are we talking about? Is it 64 total? Yeah, it's 64 total. So all right, we can do the Rabaya stuff anytime. Let's nail this. All right, so we got the 15. I was really hoping we were going to pull a point of free energy off of that. There's a 25% chance that we lose if we do that. How many times can you pull the worst possible outcome in a row? Definitely at least that many. I'm going to do this for safety. Then we're going to go back in here. We're going to throw the 1, I guess, at this, because the 1 and the 2 give the same outcome. We may as well spend this 1 in a place that doesn't terribly suck. Okay, got that positive outcome, which lets us pretty safely buy these 2 ship mind fragments. Then we go and we use the fabricate ourselves up a whole actual ship mind. And then we head back to our pal, the Neovend, and insert. Sleeper. Must express plan before we begin. Neovend is impatient. The prospect of being free of the vending machine clearly too much to take. Shipmind has no output features. Will be mute until slotted. Okay, so what's the plan? Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really focused on your plan. I am trying to help you. At the very least, we can take you with us when we leave. If you're in this Neovend machine, I guess you'd be safe from the flux, probably. If that's true, it would be true in the shipmind as well. The servo motors in the machine begin to rev. Neovend's anxiety clear. First, imprint shipmind. Then slot imprinted shipmind into physical ports close to hunter nests. Once slotted, We'll track Hunter at each. Tracking will find core nest. Slot shipmind at core nest. Show Hunter data to Hunter. Hunter will conclude sentience. Hunter will invoke killer. Yeah, I mean, that sounds simple. The lights on the vending machine cycle as Neovend prepares. Physical ports likely sealed in old station. We'll need keys. But yes, simple. The vending machine rocks a little. Any questions before imprinting? What's the core nest? Hunter keeps central data storage. Protocol must keep data outside self, linked to secondary nests. Can triangulate from there. Okay, we understand why slot the thing physically, because it's literally the only way it could work. The whole point of the ship mind is that it is air-gapped from the other systems, right? Alright, that's it. Let's start. The sound of all the servo motors starting up at once is painful. The screeches rattle from the hard surfaces of the sealed dock and come back at all angles. Neovend better be quick, or Havenage security will be here. Neovend's voice appears among the squeals like a whisper carried by the wind. The machine is not designed for this task. Few sensors, limited inputs. I work blind. Wish me luck. In the top part of the compartment, a set of arms align with the ship mind, clunkily scraping against it. Geez, can I help? Silence best. Also, if machine ignite, put out fire. Yeah, alright, I guess I can do that. The metal creaks as the servos open the ship mind, its layers of silicon nested like an onion skin. Once open, the main arm of the machine rapidly shifts back and forth, realigning the microscopic components, accessing and rewriting them, imprinting Neovend into its physical form. As you watch the hypnotic motion, your mind drifts to your own creation. What processes were used to emulate your mind, to copy the neural structure of that person who, as far as you know, still sleeps in some distant facility? What was lost? In what ways are you a copy of that person, and in what ways are you something new? You know this much. You're a convenient loophole, a way of circumnavigating the illegality of sentient AI. After all, you're an emulation, not a true digital being. You're neurologically limited, still human. But what would you become if you could escape this frame? Where then would the limits lie? The screeching stops. The machine powers down, dropping the bay into darkness. In the top compartment, the ship mind is whole again. You reach up and take it down, heavy and cold to the touch. Is Neovend inside this thing? Or did the process fail? There's only one way to know. Time to find a nest to slot them into. Alright, does that give a point? Yes, that gives a point. Awesome. You can never tell which steps of these drives will actually give you the point, and which ones are just, way stations. Alright, so we need an encrypted key. We might be able to pull some encrypted keys with these bad dice. That's certainly something. Now that we have energy, I think I'm going to throw this 2 at Patrol the Ward. I don't know if completing Yet Again Insider will get us another point, but it might, right? It totally might. Like I was saying, you can never tell at exactly which points along a drive you get your upgrades. But this one, even if we neg it now, it doesn't leave us in a terrible spot. Okay. Neutral is fine. So one more decent die will allow us to pop that open. We're making some kind of progress, that's for sure. And I have basically no money, but I'm still going to feed the stray. Alright, here's hoping the dice come up friendly. We have so many of them. You would think you would think that there would be pretty good odds, right? That's pretty friendly. Alright. Hunter's nests are a secondary priority. Let's nail some positive outcomes here. You find an old Solheim map terminal and manage to boot it back up. A skeletal map of the facility unfolds for you. Let's just take some more information here. I think we're going to throw the 4 at this as well. Curious what the neutral outcome is. Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter. We have, in fact, hacked the Gibson. Sleeper, here! Peak calls to you from across the flickering corridor. An elevator to the core! They smile. This is it! It's been a long set of cycles hunting for a path through the derelict layers of old Solheim offices and workshops, but finally, here it is. The path down to the core. You rush over to Peak. As you do, the doors grind open, the dingy-looking elevator flickering as they do. You look at Peak, who nervously gestures for you to get in. Fucking fine, you big baby. I will step in. The elevator bounces a little, always a good sign, but stays stable. You glance back to see Peak watching you nervously. They follow you in sheepishly. Just a little nervous. Peak reaches over and punches the button for the lowest level, flinching a little as the doors grind closed. The elevator sets off, screeching through the floors as it does, at an unsettlingly loud volume. I'd feel more comfortable if we spoke. Peak raises their voice over the noise. It's not going to be a short trip. Yeah, have you heard of Senate Stat before? Peak thinks. Maybe once? They frown. It could have been mentioned in an XPR news packet, the kind the Central Administration sent out to us. Something about market analytics, I think. They shake their head. When you've spent so much time trying to forget your past, this stuff isn't easy to dredge up. Yeah, okay. How's Ash doing? Peak pauses. I was thinking more like small talk? Elevator talk. They sigh. She's packing. They rub their eyes. Once Ash has set her mind on something, well, you know her now, you know what I mean. The screeching of the elevator fills the silence. And will you leave with her? Peak thinks for a moment. I don't know, Sleeper. I honestly don't know. Part of me wants to run, to keep running for as long as I can. I'm used to that. But another part is done with that. Is done with denying my past and my history. If I ever want to feel complete, to feel settled, don't I need to somehow resolve the person I was with the person I am now? Peak goes quiet, and you do too. There are too many possible questions, too many possibilities before you. It just seems easier to get on with the task at hand and leave the consequences for later. The elevator screams to a stop and the doors ping open with a strangely cheerful beep. You glance at Peak. It's time to move on. You both walk out into an atrium, still lit by some ragged-looking light panels on the ceiling, once simulating a summer sky, now degraded into a flickering blue and white tapestry of glitches. Peak crosses quickly, making a beeline for the large doors on the far side, where you can make out a fading sign in massive peeling letters. Central Control. You follow, helping them lever open the partially powered doors until the motors kick in and they spring to life, thudding open. You and Peak tumble through across the damp metal. As you stand, you are greeted by flickering lights, thousands of them. A vast cylindrical stack of servers, processors, and transmitters dominates the center of the room, its flickering LEDs reflected in the scattered puddles that surround it. Despite the decay, the warped panels, and the water leaks, it is still running, just as it has for decades and decades, since the station was first spun up. You wonder how long it has been since anyone has been in this room. I mean, in theory, there must be, hundreds of places in the station like this, right? Where some critical subsystem has just hummed away, working correctly for long enough that nobody has needed to, do maintenance on it. So long that basically it's become forgotten completely. You exchange wide-eyed looks with Peak. This place is a still living piece of history. Wow. So we know what the place is already, kind of. Peak told us, so... What now? Peak takes a handful of mulch out from a small bag. It glitters with spores. Now we seed the place. They cross to the server and start packing the mulch deep into the machinery, pushing fistfuls deep into gaps in the paneling, laying it across hardware. So I guess that answers my question from earlier. You step back from the towering cylinder, staring at this vast piece of Solheim hardware. This whole place is built from ghosts, you think? From old protocols and company hardware. From engines that drove decades of corporate expansion. Is the eye proof that they can be shifted, bent, forced into new configurations that allow for new ways of living? Or is its inevitable collapse proof that these engines of expansion can never be anything other than a corrupt foundation? Seems to depend on who you ask. I mean, the actual answer is nobody knows. The reason that it seems to depend on who you ask is that nobody has an actual answer. Done. Peak's shout breaks your line of thought. The heat and damp should help the spores germinate quickly. If we're lucky, there's enough time for some growth before we reconnect the Greenway. They glance at you. Well, that's it. All the facilities seeded. They sigh. We either just ensured the eye's survival, or stuffed a whole lot of soil into one of its most important computers. They laugh weakly. Shall we go? They start to head back toward the doors and the elevator beyond. I'm going to take one last look, since we are all explicitly offered the opportunity to do so. You wait for a moment, following the blinking lights. You wonder what might be tucked away in such a structure, what secrets it might hold, what histories. It's an intriguing prospect, but while you watch the lights, you realize something. If the eye is to become anything more than an offshoot, a temporary structure, it must form its own history, its own stories, stronger than anything that came before. Unlocking these Solheim secrets won't do that, but the persistence, the stubborn drive to survive that is in the veins of every person in this place, that will. And that is what you are trying to save. You turn your back on the core and follow Peak back into the elevator. As you ride the car back up, Peak raises their voice over the screeching. I'm going to the Founder's Gap to finalize the connection. The moment I'm ready, I'll let you know and we'll let the gardener out. Sooner the better. Peak furrows their brow. If we wait until the final cycle, it'll be too late. They're trying really hard to tell me that, like, there will be more to do. You need to have time to roll some dice. If you want to help speed things up, go work with the flotilla. We can't make the connection until we know they're ready to go. Peak swallows. Unleashing Gardener could affect them too if we aren't careful. And what happens then? Peak shrugs. I don't honestly know. Maybe Gardener takes over the station. Maybe they don't even react. They sigh. I can't think about it any longer. You ride the rest of the way in silence. When you reach the top, you go your separate ways. But before you do, Peak embraces you, burying their face in your shoulder. You stand there together for a moment, spinning with the eye, moving relentlessly toward an unknown future. And then they let go and slip away. The pressure of their hug fading like a bruise as you begin to leave. Man, the punctuation in the expansion content is just fucking all over the place. What even is a sentence? Okay, that was worth an upgrade point. We are absolutely continuing to push our intuition. We are absolutely learning the lessons of the fungus. Here's to you, sweet fungus. All right. Let's go see what there is to do at the flotilla. We still, of course, have the timer, which we are about halfway through. Do they just mean this stuff? I guess probably. I suppose we may as well just go ahead and spend our reroll. Yeah, alright. Cool. Between the two of these, I think we take the engineering one because there's a chance of getting free stuff, right? You work in sync with the other teams, splitting the jobs so that by the time you're done, there are tens of new berths in place. As you stop to rest in one of the Pilgrim Seed's cavernous bays, hopping up to sit on a supply crate, you hear a now familiar voice behind you. Sleeper, glad you're here. Saul's suit hisses as he clanks up toward you. I knew you'd help us out. We sure do appreciate everything you do for us. I'm going to choose not to sound suspicious, even though I am suspicious. Yeah, no worries. I do mean it, Sleeper. He looks away down the bay to where sparks jump from welding torches. It's a grim job to be doing without a few friends around. Saul settles beside you, flinching a little, but making himself comfortable on the crate. Well, seems the word got out, this way or that. He nods toward the welders a little way off, one of them wearing shipyard overalls. We've had people flowing in from the eye looking for a place. In truth, it's more than I thought. Saul sighs. Which means more mouths to feed, more bodies to house, more people to protect. Well, you think we can do it? Saul frowns. We'll do what we can, as always. I'm not sure any of it could be enough. He looks down. We were supposed to stay here, not keep running. Saul waves away the thought. Don't listen to me. Just a tired old man. I have something to ask, though. Hey, man, I'm already helping. Something new? Saul shakes his head. Not so much. Old matters, mostly. With all these evacuees, well, we need a change in plan, he shrugs. Pilgrim Seed can't do it alone. We need the others to help out. We can carry them, house them, but that's all. Now, you settled down the folks from Ember's Step, and they sent us supplies grown in those dust houses of theirs. If we could get more... He nods to himself. And then the song crews. He rubs his chin. What we need from them is scouting and security. We don't need that docking access of theirs, but with some careful scavenging, they could be our fleet. Now, these folks, they know you, Sleeper. You earned their trust already. He puts a hand on your shoulder. I sent my requests out, and they seem to be complying, but I need you out there making sure the work gets done. Time is our greatest enemy now. Saul stares into the distance. I need you out there speeding things up. Whether or not he asks too much, it's not valuable to say it, right? Like, the amount of time we have left is the amount of time we have left. Yeah, of course. Saul nods. All right, then. He climbs off the crate, his suit hissing as he does. Now think of it this way. Either way, you won't have to deal with much longer. Either way, you won't have to deal with us much longer, maybe? He smiles his uneven smile. Unless, of course, you were planning to come along for the trip. Yeah, I don't really know. Saul winks. Well, I'll leave it with you. Saul waves a hand and starts off toward the bay's entrance, the crackling sound of the welding quickly covering up his clanking suit. You watch the workers, the shipyard contractor chatting among them, already looking like he belongs. You push thoughts of escape, of home, and of the future to the back of your mind and get up. There's always more to do. You better head to the other ships in the flotilla to see what can be done. Yeah, we just really don't have a lot of time left is the thing. The docking axis is in chaos when you arrive. The staccato burst of welding torches, the shouts of crews gathering, the rapid flow of supplies and kit from dock to dock. You can tell already that news of the flotilla's imminent departure has reached this place before you. You come to join the Exodus, Sleeper? Peter approaches you from one of the working crews, a smile on his face, and a lightness in his step that you haven't seen before. Not quite. Peter eyes you. I suppose you're here on Saul's orders again. He winks at you. Stop doing that. Nothing Ember's Hearth like to do more than ordering people around. No, listen, I'm here by choice. Well, fair enough. Just your timing always seems to be a cycle or two after we get some request from the Hearth ship. He shrugs an exaggerated shrug. Must be a coincidence. Well, Saul has it lucky anyway. His request for us to dismantle the Axis and be the vanguard for the flotilla's onward journey to the Starward Belt aligns perfectly with our plans. What plans are those? Well, to leave this damn place, of course. We've been prepping ever since the cordon collapsed. If we can build our escape and make the Hearth ships think we're complying with their orders at the same time, it's a 2-1 for us. Peter shakes his head. Those idiots will never see it coming. You're leaving the flotilla. We are our own flotilla, Sleeper. Peter looks away at the busy Axis. We aren't going to tie ourselves to Heart and Step any longer. Why would we? Well, to help them? Peter scoffs. They're taking on evacuees from the Eye. That's what I heard. So how about they help themselves before they ask us to make up for their bad decisions? Peter looks down. Look, nothing against you or yours, Sleeper, but we have to get out from under the shadow of Step and Song. And this is the time. Peter grimaces. We won't let the flux catch us again. Not a chance. And for the first time, you see fear in his eyes. You want to help us make that leap? Grab a torch, talk to a crew. You're welcome to it. Peter sniffs. Every person here is free to prove themselves. Let's see is such a strange response. It's almost grammatically not one of the things you can say to this, right? Like, well, I'll help when I can, as always. Peter nods. Just a stop on the road, Sleeper. I'm afraid that's all this was. Peter glances out past the docking axis, through the outer windows, to the stars beyond. There's a lot of space out there for those willing to take it. He looks you in the eye. I hope you'll be around before we go, but if not, he smiles, you stay strong. And with that, Peter thumps you on the shoulder and heads back to his crew, with a purpose, a direction visible in every step of his rapid stride. So we don't have the option to explain to them what the fuck's going on at all. Like, here's my concern. He's got this idea about fleeing from the flux. We're not going to let the flux catch us. That is completely disconnected from the reality of what the flux is. And I feel like the fact that we didn't even try to explain that to him is doing him and the rest of the flotilla a real disservice for basically no reason. What's going on over here? I knew you'd come. Aki greets you outside the dust house, her eyes as bright as always. You are very welcome here, as always. Yeah, it's good to see you, Aki. Aki smiles. And you, Sleeper. She puts a hand on your arm. Walk with me. And she guides you past the dust houses. You look inside and see other members of the crew working in the orange dust, planting and tending to the steppe ecosystem. We are to be the suppliers for the evacuees, I'm sure you've heard. We'll put the dust houses to use. She leads you past a dust house where the dust is less, the orange glow not as bright, the air a little more clean. We're adapting, slowly, but we are adapting. We have to produce food, clothes, necessary things for the journey ahead. She smiles. The plants of steppe are once again sustaining a population, and that makes me proud. Aki stops at an half-empty dust house, again, lots of weird typos, scoured of its sand. It is being filled with okay, this is a nightmare. Aki stops at a half-empty dust house. Period. Scoured of its sand, it is being filled with mulch. We brought this from the Greenway. She stares at the green and brown, a strange sight, even to you, now that you're used to the amber dust of steppe. I admit it is hard work for us. We are not familiar with these plants. Can you help us? Aki meets your eye. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the plants of the Greenway. I'll do my best. Aki looks away. Of course. I'm sorry. She furrows her brow. I know that the eye is suffering, that it is at risk. I know what that is like. So that was fully just like, it doesn't matter what you say there, you get exactly the same text. because this is much more sensible as a response to the line we didn't pick. Thank you. I wish I had a lesson to share with you from our loss on Steppe. She shakes her head. But for the moment, I cannot see what that might be. She gathers herself. If it gives you meaning, the work here is steady and worthwhile. But if you do not have time, she smiles a weak smile. I will not blame you. Hold on to your memories, but not too tightly. She pauses. Sadness will not sustain you. Sort of a projection there. It's not really useful advice for us. She falls silent, and you both watch the work in the dust house for a while. You can already see a greening fringe of moss on the mulch in the dust house. The first signs of new life. Will you soon be like the people of Steppe, leaving behind a home? Or will you be stubborn and hold your ground, despite what it might mean? You wait a little longer with Aki, the moment a welcome suspension in time. A rare moment in this rush toward an end. You glance at Aki and she puts a hand on your shoulder in solidarity. After a short while, Aki sighs. It is good to see you, sleeper. Perhaps we will see each other again before we depart. She walks away, fingertips brushing against the glass of the dust house windows. Aki turns back for a moment as if she wants to say something, then thinks better of it and turns away. Okay, so this is 5 more high dice. This we can at least work with. We can work via engage, so that helps. But this is another 6 high dice. Yeah, geez. Okay. So we need roughly 1 billion dice. Just all of them. Just all of them forever. And I mean, there's nothing for it, really. Let's just go get a nap at base camp. We just have to get a lot of good rolls, and probably better rolls than this, frankly. One thing we can do here is we can spend these 3s on the engage. Yeah, I want to help out. It's not clear to me whether helping out here... The ships from Ember Song will act as scouts and security for the evacuees. Boy, that's presumptuous. We're just going to assume that Peter's not following through on the thing he was saying. But I think the plan here is use the 3s and the 5. Okay, was really hoping for a thrill seeker at some point. Use the 3s and the 5, reroll the 2s, right? Double positives. That was pretty good luck. And because this is a place where we can get value out of 3s, I think we want to leave that. Let's come over. I don't know that it really matters where we spend this. We need so many high dice. Okay, and then rerolls. Wow, pair of 6s. I guess I'm going to throw them here. Again, like kind of hoping to pull some scrap or something that we can sell so that we can buy food should we need to. All right, no luck on that, but at least the dice came up pretty okay. And now we're going to lose a die, and we can't really afford to fix it. Not again. Would there be any value in pushing for more upgrade points? Probably not. There's no value in going somewhere else and trying to push upgrade points, I don't think. So back up here to play a 3 for sure. at crew management, hoping to get Thrill Seeker. Since we didn't get the Thrill Seeker, do I also spend the 4s here? We have no idea what a neutral outcome will do in this place, but it could actually be bad. I'd rather re-roll the 2 than just spend it. But since we didn't get... Like, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to spend the 4s here as well. Just because it would be so good to get a Thrill Seeker proc. Wow, cool. Well, I mean, we can just spend that 1 sunbathing, I suppose. Is that better than doing anything? I don't know, honestly. Just let this be the, cool, negative outcome, whatever. Negative and neutral were the same there, so 75% chance we were going to get approximately this much value. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Gosh, do I need to start with the potential energy gain? No, I guess I'm gonna do this. Let's spend the 5s here. Okay, got ourselves some random scrap. That's excellent news. That's, I believe, a whole meal. Wow, awesome. That rules. Yeah, right, because I think we sell these for 12. We can buy a whole meal from Memphis. That's 2 days worth of energy we just pulled twice. Feeling pretty jazzed about that. Or, alternatively, it's most of the way to the next vial of stabilizer. They just keep coming. Perhaps the flux event scared enough people that they really believe the eye will collapse. And perhaps they're sick of Havenage, of the Council's infighting and the hardliners. Or perhaps they just want to take a chance at some new future, a place that is anywhere but here. Whatever it is, the evacuees don't stop. They come on the flotilla's shuttles, on their own ships, however they can. You've seen so many faces pass that they're almost meaningless now. A parade of features that seem both familiar and distant. You've been helping people, lifting bags, bringing in supplies, directing them to the berths you helped build. Some of them recoil from your touch, still unfamiliar with sleepers. Others treat you with pity. Some with hate, snatching back their bags and storming off. Still you help. Still you carry boxes and bags. Nothing can stop you. You don't look for Saul. You know he's busy, just like you, trying to make this thing work. Trying to fit as many people as will come onto the Pilgrim Seed. You know you'll see him before this is all over. Ugh. You keep working, but there's something in the back of your mind, something eating away at you. You try to push it to the back of your thoughts, but it keeps coming back. It's weird that I would have to push it to the back of my thoughts if that's already where it is. The eye is over. That is the thought. That the eye, even if the flux doesn't get it, is on its way out. How can it survive when these floods of people are leaving it behind? It's a thought that troubles you, because it makes you question why you've held on here for so long, in a place that seems so temporary for so many people. Are you just a stubborn idiot, someone who didn't get the message? Or are you strong, committed for lasting the storm, for seeing the collapse coming and facing it head on? Because there's something you're sure of now. This place, like all places, is temporary. And as each face passes you, each family packs up and gets on board the Pilgrim Seed, it feels ever more temporary, ever more fragile. Which means it either desperately needs protecting, or desperately needs to be left behind. The choice is yours. Kind of. There's only 4 cycles left on the timer, and Peak has not contacted us. We have no way of moving on Protect It, right? So, we may as well head to the Ort Exchange and dump these. I don't think there's any other action we would want to take with these. Yeah, 12 cryo each. Not too bad. Stabilizer's 64? Yeah. kind of don't think we can afford... Yeah, I kind of don't think we can afford to spend time trying to get stabilizer right now. 64. So what I'd have to get... I'd have to get 26 more. Which would be 2 good dice. Two positive outcomes at the bar would do it. So I guess as long as there are more than 2 cycles remaining, it's worth doing because we're gaining more than 2 dice that way. Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. So maybe we should go cash in the 6, because like I can take this 6, then re-roll the 2. Even if it's a 1, we can just throw it in here. But yeah, gaining the dice is worth it. Because right now it would gain us 4 dice. It was if we spend 2 dice earning 4 dice, basically. And then we re-roll this. Hell yeah. Thrill Seeker, right? Come on. Damn it. So I don't actually have enough to both eat and to hit the dispensary, which means we're going to spend 1 extra die. So now we're paying 3 dice to get 4 dice, which is still good, but it's less so, obviously. I'll tell you what, that's 1 time feeding the stray that that made the difference there. And yet, here I go feeding the stray again. I am declaring something about myself, damn it. Okay. Stray fed. End the cycle. We're coming real close to the end of this timer. And I think this is where we're going to leave it for today. Yeah, we're coming real close to the end of this timer. Probably real close to the end of this game. And I truly don't feel like I have an idea what is in store here. We're just going to do our level best to prep all the ships for movement. I want to save the eye. I want to make it so that people don't have to go. Some people are going to want to go anyway. That's probably fine. But it would be cool if we could save everybody, right? Wouldn't that be nice? The more I say it, the more it sounds like fairy tale nonsense. Ugh. All right. Come back next time, I suppose, to find out if it is. And we'll see you then.